Here's something you've probably been told, maybe even by a doctor. Be careful with squats after 50. They're bad for your knees. It sounds sensible, feels true, and it might be one of the most damaging pieces of advice going around for people over 50, because it keeps them from doing the one thing that could actually protect their knees. I know that's a big claim, so stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly what the research says. And the truth is almost the opposite of the myth. When scientists actually reviewed the evidence, squatting done sensibly turned out to be not the enemy of your knees, but one of their best friends. What wears knees down and makes them hurt isn't bending them, it's weakness. And squatting, done right, is how you fix the weakness. By the end of this video, you'll understand what really protects a knee, why the squats are bad myth took hold, a real study where people in their late 60s and 70s rebuilt their knee strength at home in 12 weeks, and the exact 4-stage way to rebuild the squat safely starting from a chair, no matter how stiff or weak you feel today. Plus the 3 mistakes that genuinely can make a squat hurt so you can avoid every one. Let me also be honest about one thing right at the top, because this channel doesn't do hype. No exercise regrows the cartilage inside your knee. Anyone promising that isn't being straight with you. What you can rebuild is the strength, the stability, and the range of motion around the joint. And it turns out that's the part that decides whether your knees hurt, whether they hold up, and whether you keep your independence. Let's get into it. Before we start, tell me in the comments how old you are and whether your knees click, ache, or feel weak. I read every one. Let's begin. First, let's be fair to the myth because it didn't come from nowhere. For decades, the worry was simple. Bending the knee deeply increases the pressure inside the joint, so surely deep bending must wear it out faster, right? It's an intuitive idea. And for someone with an already injured knee, or someone doing squats with terrible form under a heavy barbell, there can be real strain, so the caution had a grain of truth. But here's where it went wrong. That narrow caution got turned into a blanket rule. Squatting is bad for knees, full stop. And that blanket rule is simply not what the evidence shows. When researchers reviewed 15 studies on squatting and knee health, only one linked deep squats to increased injury risk. The rest found either no increased risk or clear benefits for the knee joint, as long as the movement was done with reasonable form and in a comfortable range. Read that again because it flips the whole story. 14 out of 15 studies said sensible squatting is fine or good for knees. The fear that's kept millions of people over 50 from squatting was built on the exception, not the rule. And there's a deep irony here. Avoiding squats to protect your knees does the opposite, because when you stop bending and loading your legs, the muscles that support the knee get weaker, and weak muscles are the actual problem. The very thing people do to save their knees is quietly starving them of what keeps them strong. Let me show you why that matters so much. Here's the piece that too few people over 50 are ever told, and it's the key to everything. Your knee is a joint, but it doesn't hold itself up. It's supported, guided, and protected by the muscles around it, above all, the quadriceps, the big muscles on the front of your thigh. Think of them as the knee's bodyguards. When they're strong, they absorb the load and keep the joint tracking smoothly. When they're weak, the joint takes the punishment directly, every step, every stair. And this isn't opinion, it's well-established research. Weak quadriceps are a recognized risk factor for knee osteoarthritis and knee pain. That relationship has been documented for decades. The weaker the muscles guarding the knee, the more trouble the knee tends to be in. Which leads to something that surprises a lot of people. The major arthritis and rheumatology organizations now recommend strengthening exercise as a first-line treatment for knee osteoarthritis. Not as a last resort, not after injections and surgery, as one of the first things to try. And in trials of older adults with knee arthritis, quadriceps strengthening programs produce real improvements in both pain and everyday function, walking, stairs, standing up. So put it together. Weak muscles around the knee lead to pain and damage. Strengthening those muscles is a frontline treatment, and the squat, done sensibly, is one of the most effective, most natural ways to strengthen exactly those muscles. That's the truth the myth hides. The squat isn't what hurts most knees. It's what protects them. And let me give you the study that proves this can work for real people your age at home without a gym. Researchers at Chukyo University in Japan worked with a group of older adults, average age from the late 60s into the 70s, and had them do a simple home squatting program. No barbell, no trainer, no equipment. Just body weight squats using a chair as a depth guide. Sink down until you gently touch the seat, then stand back up. A few sets, a few days a week, for 12 weeks. 12 weeks later, the results were clear. Their knee extension strength, the power in the quadriceps, the exact bodyguard muscles that protect the knee, improved measurably. Their thigh muscle thickness increased, and their scores on practical everyday function tests got better. Now, this was a small study, so I won't oversell it, but it points exactly the same direction as the larger body of research. Ordinary people in their late 60s and 70s squatting to a chair in their living rooms rebuilt strength in the muscles that guard the knee in 3 months. And here's the detail that takes the fear away. In that research, they compared shallower squats with deeper squats, and both improved lower body function in older adults. You don't have to drop into a deep squat on day 1 to benefit. Even a partial squat to a chair, done consistently, makes you stronger. So if part of you is thinking, there's no way I can squat like that, you don't have to. You start where you are, and the chair meets you at your level. Let me show you exactly how. Here's how you rebuild the squat from wherever you're starting today. 4 stages. Don't rush them. Each might take a week or several, and that's completely fine. Progress, not speed. Stage 1. The chair sit to stand. Sit in a sturdy chair, feet flat, shoulder width apart. Lean your chest slightly forward, nose over your toes, and stand up, using your hands on the armrest or thighs if you need to. Then lower back down slowly, with control, over about 3 seconds. That slow lowering builds real strength. Do 5 to 10. When you can do them without pushing off your hands, move on. Stage 2. The supported squat. Stand facing a sturdy countertop, holding on lightly. Bend your knees and lower as far as comfortable, heels staying on the floor, letting the counter carry some weight. Only as low as feels good, no pain. Hold a second at the bottom, then rise. Do 5 to 8. The counter is your partner here. Stage 3. The box squat, going lower. Put a chair or firm cushion behind you. Feet a little wider than your hips, toes turning slightly out. Reach your hips back like you're aiming to sit. Lower under control until you lightly touch the seat, then stand. As you get stronger, use a lower surface. This is the exact method from the Chukyo study. Stage 4. The long-term goal, the free deep squat. Feet flat, sink down between your legs, chest up, heels down, resting comfortably at the bottom. If your heels lift, put a rolled towel or a thin book under them, a normal starting aid, not a failure. Hold 10 or 20 seconds and build from there. Over months, the towel comes out. Chair to counter to box to floor. Most people over 50 can climb that ladder. The only real mistake is trying to jump to the top rung on day 1. Now, the 3 mistakes that genuinely can turn a knee-friendly squat into a sore one. Avoid these and the movement stays safe. 1. Letting your knees cave inward. As you lower and rise, your knees should track in line with your feet, roughly over your toes, pointing the same way. When they collapse inward, stress goes to the wrong places. The fix. Think about gently pushing your knees out, keeping them in line with your feet the whole way. Mistake 2. Lifting your heels. If your heels pop up, you lose your stable base and load shifts forward onto the knees. Usually it's just tight ankles. The fix is that small support under the heels, a rolled towel while your ankles loosen over the weeks. Mistake 3, and this is the big one, pushing through sharp pain. Let me be very clear. A gentle stretch, mild muscle effort, tired thighs, all normal, all fine. But sharp, pinching, or hot pain inside the knee joint is a stop sign, not a challenge. Pain is not progress. Back off, add support, reduce your depth, and if it persists, see a doctor or a physiotherapist. And especially if you already have diagnosed arthritis, a meniscus problem, or a knee replacement, check with your own doctor before starting and let them set your depth. Done right, this is one of the safest, most natural movements there is. Done stubbornly through pain, any exercise can hurt you. So let's put the myth to rest. Squats are bad for your knees is, for most people, simply wrong. What's bad for your knees is weakness, weak quadriceps leaving the joint unprotected. And the sensible squat is one of the best tools there is for rebuilding that protection. 14 of 15 studies found it safe or beneficial. Strengthening is a frontline treatment the experts recommend, and real people in their late 60s and 70s rebuilt their knee strength in 12 weeks, squatting to a chair at home. You won't regrow the cartilage, nobody can promise that. But you can rebuild the strength, the stability, and the range of motion that decide how your knees actually feel and function. And you start with a chair, one gentle stage at a time. Start today with 5 chair sit-to-stands. That's the first rung, and the first step toward knees that are stronger a year from now instead of weaker. Tell me in the comments, how old are you and which stage are you starting on? The chair, the counter, the box, or are you already getting to the floor? I read every single comment. And if this helped, subscribing keeps these research-backed videos coming for people over 50 who want the truth, not the hype. Move with purpose today. I'll see you in the next one.